Today's featured piece is Mechanical Monsters by Randall Standridge. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Masters of the Musiverse. I'm Scott Cumro, and today we have a very special episode as part of our August Band Boost. I'm joined by a special co-host, my son, Ezekiel Jude Cumro. Before we get started, you'll notice I've got some messes around my office studio. We're just kind of working. It looks pretty bad in here, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And it's worse off camera, so you're seeing just a little bit of the mess, but it's getting closer. I don't know. It's gonna be good. So Zeke is an 11-year-old in 6th grade, and he plays the bass clarinet. Last spring, he played Mechanical Monsters in the band, so I thought it'd be really fun to share this experience with him and to share this experience with all of you. As part of our deal. Before we dive into the music, Zeke has been practicing his magic this summer, and I said, hey, why don't you do a magic trick on the video? So I'm going to give him the floor here. Take it away, Zeke.
Hold your hands out.
Mine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're on camera.
Okay, so I'm going to take a ball,
Yeah.
whatever ball you pick, and put it in my pocket, just like that, okay?
Yep.
Okay, so which ball do you want to pick?
This one.
This one? Okay. Now, I want you to hold this ball as tightly as possible in your hand, okay?
Tightly as I can. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right, this hand. Yes.
Open your hand.
Oh, hey! All right.
Okay, so, and now, since I feel like you can do a bit better with the other hand.
with this hand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hold it as tightly as possible again.
How many did you give me? 2?
2.
2, yep, okay.
Open your hand.
Hey! Oh my gosh! Hey! I think I'm the magician. I just made these 4 appear. Okay, have it. Are you done? Sorry. Okay. All right, so today's featured piece is Mechanical Monsters by Randall Standridge. It's a grade 0.5. That must be the theme for the last few days because we've done a lot of 0.5. But it's a fun listen. It's inspired by B monster movies from the 50s and 60s. This is what Standridge wrote in the score. It's got a dark and mechanical mood set in the key of C minor. So you played Mechanical Monsters last spring. What was your first impression when you saw the title of this piece? Did you have any thoughts?
It was gonna be hard, but when we worked it out, it was gonna be really good.
Okay. The piece is in C minor, so that contributes to its dark and ominous atmosphere. There are a lot of dynamic and articulation challenges, including accents, staccatos, and combinations of the both together. The dynamics are generally loud. This is a pretty loud piece of music.
That's me.
But there are moments of mezzo forte, and even during the end, there's like a subito piano that crescendos. So you do get to explore some different dynamic levels, but it's a lot of forte and fortissimo. So Zeke, how did you find playing these different dynamics or articulations? Do you remember like working on that? Did any struggles or anything?
I think the hardest part was like you're used to playing loud almost the whole song, and then those little parts where it goes quiet, you have to like remember them a bit before, like you have to like memorize them before they come up on the piece.
Otherwise, you're like the one person playing loud when everyone else is playing soft.
Although I'm the only one playing bass clarinet, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, it does, because then you would be one loud bass clarinet player in the band.
But nobody can hear me because there's so many other ones.
What did Mr. Peterson tell you about the concert? He plays pretty loud bass clarinet for those that are interested. So the wind parts are engaging with the melody being handed around to various instruments. Even the low voices get a chance to play the melody. And when they don't, they still have interesting parts, which is something that Standridge does really well, and I think he prides himself on. The woodwinds and horns have a moment where they only play on the repeat of during the melody's introduction in the very beginning of the piece. And so that's a great teaching moment to talk about what does 2x only mean. And we, I don't know if you remember this in class, I asked what 2x only means, and you get some great responses from young musicians. So Zeke, as a bass clarinetist, what do you think about your part in Mechanical Monsters? Was it a fun part to play?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I was the only one playing it, so you could really, my part really stood out.
Do you remember, you were the only one on bass clarinet, but there were other people in the room that had the same part as you. Do you remember who they were?
I think I had a little bit like the tenor saxophone.
Maybe a little bit, but the tuba and you were really,
Still different, though.
Did you enjoy the role that you played?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Now, I don't know how much Zeke will have to comment on this, but the percussion parts, there's 6 percussion parts, and they're all pretty good. There's a mallet synth part, timpani, snare drum, bass drum, metallic objects, which we're going to talk about in a moment here, and a ratchet part. And the ratchet's actually very fun. That's a really fun one to play.
I wanted to play it.
And the percussion plays such a crucial role in setting the tone of the piece, in that they are the mechanical monster. So the metallic objects part is really fun. What I like to do, because I've taught this piece a few times, is just take out a bunch of metal things, cowbell, broken cymbal. We've got an old piece of a railroad track. We've got drum brakes, pots and pans, and just see what fits and let kids just hit metal objects back there. So Zeke, there's a lot going on in the percussion section with all those different instruments. What was it like for you as a wind player when you heard those sounds? Do you remember that in rehearsals? Like you were sitting there and all of a sudden there's clangy things.
The first instinct is like to try and play over them, but once you learn it, it's like, you got to be a little bit quieter to let them be heard.
Yeah, that's good. I like that you're very aware like that. It's almost like you're a band director's kid.
I mean, but what weirdo kid would have a band director for a dad?
Yeah, I know. This is the part I was worried about, your ad-libbing things. So far, so good. All right, coordination becomes challenging if you're looking at a score at measure 21, where the winds are playing stand percussion. They're using pencils and they're banging on the stands in different spots to create different sounds. It's difficult to not just get all those wind players, because we had about 80 wind players in the band, to do that at the same time. But it has to coordinate with the percussion, and their parts are just slightly different. Articulation and dynamic skills also, they really should be something that you work on before you do this piece, so that, for one, everybody gets to experiment with what does an accent sound like, what does a staccato sound like, and what do those two things combined. So you can experiment with those in your classroom before you do it in the music. And then all of a sudden, it's only the students that have the staccatos that are working on them. So I'm actually a big advocate for resource sheets that we'll talk about in a little bit here. But Zeke, do you remember the coordination thing I'm talking about when you guys were banging on music stands and the percussion? Yeah. What do you remember that it sounded like when we were in the early stages of that?
A whole bunch of noise.
It's a racket. And one of the other things that'll happen is if your classroom management and your expectations for students isn't on point, you're going to have shredded pencils around the room and your rehearsal will go haywire quickly. So make sure you're ready for that. It's just a little thing that, when you tell them to use a pencil on a stand, some of them are going to beat the crap out of the stand with that pencil. Do you remember, this is in the notes, do you remember any moments that required more practice in this song? Like, what were the hard sections for the band to put together?
Oh, the parts where it was like everybody had like an actual different part. Sometimes the wrong people would try to play other people's parts.
Yeah. Hard. So there's a few things like that. There's some multi-measure rests for some students. This was our first full band piece. And so you have to make sure you teach what a multi-measure rest is, because if it says 3 above their part, they don't really know at first. So it's things like that. So like that might catch you off guard, but if you're an experienced teacher, probably not. So students love Mechanical Monsters. Everything, the title alone, it's intriguing. The melody is catchy enough that I would hear students, one in particular, even at times this summer, I've heard him singing the melody for this. But this piece also teaches them how to use articulation dynamics to make music fun to play and to listen to. So, what was your favorite part, do you think, of playing Mechanical Monsters?
That an end part that went da 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 da, because half the people will be playing a low 4 note or whatever you
Eighth
call
note?
it. No, a low 4, like what's the one that has 4 beats?
Whole note?
Yeah, a whole note, a low whole note, then a higher whole note, and then there would be people playing the da 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 da.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, but difficult too,
Yeah.
right? And then also in that end, the dynamic change, like we were talking about earlier, like it goes bop 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 bop. It gets really soft. So I teach this piece every year to my 5th graders. It's a staple in our spring concert. It's usually the first band arrangement. If not the first, it's the second one that we do. And the students really love experiencing the putting together of all those parts. And my part is not the same as, my bass clarinet part is not the same as the trumpet part. Or even for you, because you sat next to tenor sax, your bass clarinet part is not identical to the tenor sax part. Although they probably were pretty similar.
Yeah.
So they love, putting together a longer piece of music. Students enjoy experimenting with different sounds and figuring out how to use those sounds to capture the idea of a giant mechanical monster. I guess I assume it's a giant mechanical monster. And judging by the artwork from Standridge's next piece in this world, I guess, he wrote The Wrath of the Mechanical Monsters, right? Mm-hmm. Which is pretty good. You should check that one out. It's a 0.75 piece, but it kind of does it. It just continues that story. I kind of forgot where I was going with that. So you're a 6th grader. You played Mechanical Monsters in 5th grade, though. If I'm going to bring it to my 5th graders this year, what advice do you give students?
Remember that everybody has different parts, and the noise level. Try to keep it down for those percussion people in the back.
Yeah, so we're talking about balance, like that's another good thing about this piece and having multiple parts. So thanks for joining us today on Masters of the Musiverse as we explored Mechanical Monsters by Randall Standridge. I hope you enjoyed hearing about this piece and our discussion today. Thank you for joining us, son. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more daily band piece highlights. So if I need people to click on those buttons, you listen to a lot of YouTubers. What do they say? Because people need to comment, like, and subscribe. How do I get them to do that?
Smash that subscribe button. Make it turn blue.
Okay.
Even though it's going to turn gray now.